The Little Prince. Does age matter in teaching and learning? Is there an essential difference between teaching and learning? In a sense, all of us are learners, whether we are playing the role of teacher or of pupil. A pupil asks questions in the process of learning, and his questions may be so penetrating that they stimulate a process of learning in the mind of his teacher. The common idea that teachers are adults and pupils are children perhaps needs to be corrected. The greatest teachers have looked upon themselves as children leading children. In Saint-Exupéry's story, The Little Prince, from which we present some extracts, the reader is not sure who is the teacher and who is the pupil. The Little Prince poses a number of questions, expresses surprise at many of the answers, and gives the adults he encounters a stimulating learning experience. For although he is a child, the Little Prince is a teacher as well as a learner. The Little Prince is a modern parable which has stirred the minds and hearts of countless readers, children, and adults alike. It presents a commentary on standard notions of education and attempts to demolish some of the current ideas about what we can and cannot understand, about what is important and not important, and about how we ought to judge and how we ought not to. The narrator of the story is a pilot who, because of mechanical difficulties, has been obliged to make an emergency landing in the desert. He wants to take off as quickly as possible since he has only a few days' supply of food and water. He is fully absorbed in the task of repairing his aeroplane. In those conditions, he encounters the Little Prince, a voyager from a small planet far from Earth. What ensues is a series of surprises for both of them, surprises which are loaded with meaning. The Little Prince is a symbol of the inner being of man who appears in different traditions and cultures under various names. In the Katha Upanishad, the inner being is described as something not bigger than a man's thumb, Angushta Matram. The early Greeks called it the psyche. In other traditions, it is spoken of as the soul. However, some schools of intellectual thought deny the existence of this little spark and see the human personality as a mere physical, vital, and mental complex. This limited concept is at the core of many theories of education, where learning is viewed in terms of stimulation and response, and the human being seen as a battlefield of conflicting impulses, desires, wills, and thought processes, with an unstable ego structure as his helpless leader. In contrast with this limited concept, we have in the Little Prince an enlightening affirmation of the presence of a luminous but searching entity within us, an entity which, by virtue of being a true learner, is also a true teacher and true guide. The Little Prince is a spark that can grow into a fire of light and glory. One lesson that can be drawn from Saint-Exupéry's story is that the teacher should try to discover and awaken the little prince that lives in each child. The educational consequences of the recognition of that hidden spark could initiate startlingly new trends in educational experiments and invention. The purpose of Saint-Exupéry's parable, however, is not to propound any educational theory, but to awaken us to the presence of the inner soul in each human being. And once we awaken to this reality, it is clear that we have to rethink our usual assumptions about education, about the learning process, and about the teacher and pupil.